Captain's log. Stardate 73340.7. I'm actually not that big of a nerd. I googled like the Star Trek date converting calculator to figure that out because I thought it would be funny. But me and Thor arrived in my hometown of Shell Rock, Iowa last night around 4 p.m. We're walking around my dad and his wife's yard. It's because it is incredible everything they have going on out here. They told me they spent most of their free time working in their backyard. I thought, how could you do that? And coming here and seeing this at the end of the year, I can see it would be quite easy to spend most of your year, especially the summer months, puttering around in the garden out here. It's like a pretty good life to me. Last time I was here was about 3 years ago. Came for the wedding, which they got married in front of that little barn over there. It was really nice how they had things set up, but she didn't really get a feel for how the yard is. So they got another barn over here now. Thor is loving it out here. It's his first time out here. It's only my second time in over 20 years. But me and Thor are about to take a walk here before breakfast. Right over here. It's a little bit difficult to see. We've got wind. But right there is Barbara Street, the street I grew up on. So we thought we'd take a walk down there. Show you where I grew up. So I wanted to go around town while I was here, basically film the town, because there's not a whole lot of information about my hometown. I've said this before, you go and look it up. You can find the 4th of July parade, and you can find when that soldier was killed, and they brought his body back, and that's kind of it. And I love this place. I mean, it's funny, I haven't been here almost 20 years. I was here 3 years ago for my dad's wedding, and because of my work schedule, I basically came, went to the wedding. My sister did drive me around town for a little bit, but I pretty much just went back to the hotel and slept. Because things didn't work out. My schedule just wasn't good, and I hadn't planned I probably should have taken like the day before off or something. It's neither here nor there. So, despite the fact that I've been back one other time fairly recently, this is technically my first time being back here in almost 20 years. Over 20 years. My family visited once after I moved to Wisconsin. That was in '94. So, and it's 2019. So I wanted to kind of document the whole thing, and I had the camera with me. It was in my coat pocket all day, and I took 3 things of video, and you already saw the one. I mentioned the street I lived on, and that's where we started, because I grew up on Barbara Street, and oddly enough, the woman who was my childhood babysitter was also named Barbara. As a kid, I always just figured the street was named after her. I don't believe that's actually true, but you know what? The street was named after her. So I told my dad that was something I really wanted to do, was go visit her, because she's getting up there in age too. Aren't we all? I mean, last time I was here, I was just a wee little kid, and even though I'm about the same height now, not a young man anymore, but not an old one. And so we went over there, and that was kind of an interesting thing, because I don't know what to say in those situations, but something would just be like sitting at the kitchen table across from her. It was comforting. And that's been the whole thing coming here. I mean, this city's slogan is our hometown, and yeah, I haven't been here in over 20 years, and it still feels like home. It's still like my heart and soul will always be in Shell Rock, Iowa. I've always wanted to move back here. I always joked that if I ever got money, won the lottery or became famous and got money or something, that I'd want to buy a house here. In fact, I always said that I'd always come and try to get my old childhood home back, you know, one of those knocking on the door like, I grew up here, can I offer you like 3 times what the place is worth? It's just funny, so we walked down Barbara Street and we did go by the house, and there's this old rusty like storage barn behind our old house that wasn't there when we put it in, but it wasn't there when I was a kid, you know. It was actually up the street at the nursing home, and I think they told my dad he could have it as long as he came and moved it, and it didn't have a floor, so he got some wood, built like this wooden floor, and he went and took the building apart, moved it back to our house, put together. And I remember as a kid being all excited because I got to go help him, you know, when you're a little kid and you're helping your dad, which meant I was probably just holding screwdrivers. And I wasn't there for the whole thing because I remember it was summer and I got really hot, and I was like, you know, Dad, I'm really hot, and he took me home. But the funny thing is, you know, as a kid, you remember like, oh yeah, I was out there for probably a good hour or two helping my dad move this barn, and Reality was probably 20 minutes. But anyway, this barn was so rickety and old, but because we were getting it for free and we had some stuff we could put in there. So my dad was kind of excited about it, but it was one of those that probably last a year or two, and it's still sitting there. You can actually see it kind of off to the side behind the house from the street. And it was red and white when we had it. It's a rust barn now. It's completely rusted. But the fact that it's lasted this long is just incredible. And I still remember sitting out for dinner one night, and my dad says to me, he goes, "Did you close the barn door?" And I says, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you sure you closed the barn door?" And I'm like, "Yes, I mean, because I'm like 7 or 8 at this point." I finally get up and go check, like look out the window. There's this huge window on the back of the house where the dining room was, and you could see the whole backyard. So I go look out the window and I look over where the barn is. I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, the barn door is closed." My dad's like, "You didn't zip up your pants when you were in the bathroom." I'm like, "Oh, zip up my pants." Never heard that expression before, but I never forgot it because I legit went and checked to make sure I shut the actual barn door. But so we did that. Went and saw Barb, and that was just because you spend so much of your early life with somebody. It's almost like I had 2 mothers, and to be able to see one of them again it felt right. There's no other way to describe it. It felt right. After that, we drove around town a little bit. Went over to the swinging bridge, which I talked about. I have some pictures. This thing, I did get some pictures, and I'm going to try and get a few more, and then I can insert them in this video to help you see what I see. But yeah, we went on the swinging bridge. We took Thor with us. I went over to Waverly. Now, Waverly is famous for one very important thing. The character of Hawkeye from Marvel Comics, he's also from Waverly. So there's me and there's Hawkeye. There's your Waverly. Took me to Wartburg College, which is where my dad had gone to college. I actually have a knight, like this knight statue. It's next to all my video games. It's in the pictures I've put up. I'll probably stick it in the video here too. But he's off to the side. Dad, my mother was given that. It was in, I don't remember what she's doing. She's working somewhere, and they had it, and they were going to throw it out. And she was like, "Well, my husband goes to Wartburg, and their mascot is the knight. I'll take that. That'd be cool." I have that now. But yeah, I went over to Wartburg College, and he showed me like the field house. They've got a gym there, and I guess him and his wife are members of the gym there. And he showed me around there, and ran into a few people that he knew. So that was really cool. Speaking of running into people that we know, it didn't happen today. But when I was here 3 years ago, the one thing we did before the wedding is me and my sister walked up Barber Street just to see our childhood home, and there was a guy outside, Ernie, who I knew who he was. But I'm thinking last time I was here, I was 10, And he just looks up over me and goes, "Hey, you used to play with my son when you guys were little." Started talking. He knew exactly who I was, but probably wouldn't have this because I had long hair and no beard then, much like when I would have left when I was 10. Well, now I was no hair and long beard, so this time he might not have recognized me. But that's the other thing. My dad's telling me all the people who still live here or in the area, and it blew my mind. But then again, this place is so gorgeous. It's just downright magical here. Like, if you didn't have to leave, I don't think you would. We talked about the twins, who I mentioned in a live stream. I think it was in the PK live stream though, so I'm going to tell the story again because my microphone wasn't any good in there, and I don't think anybody could hear me. So I was joking that I was the second most famous person from Shell Rock, Iowa, and the first for these twins, Nick and Nate Schultz. Maybe I shouldn't put their name out there, but since they were on TV, it's okay. So they were on a show called Erie, Indiana, which has got a pretty good cult following, and most people who are into all the same stuff I am, like video games and such, are familiar with this. I know James Rolfe has even mentioned the show before. So this episode is one of the first episodes. It's like this mother she's like a Tupperware salesman, and she's got these 2 twin sons, and they realize that they're like from the 1950s, and she kept her sons from aging by sealing them in Tupperware at night when they slept. Like these giant beds that were Tupperware. Nick and Nate played the twins. And it was the biggest deal when I was a kid, because they went to our church. I believe they went to school with my sister, and it was just the biggest deal here. Like, these guys were in a TV show, and But so the funny part about the story though is I really wanted to see that episode, and then I missed it, and then my mom went to record the show for me like the next week, and the episode I watched like scared the crap out of me. It wasn't even the episode with them, but it was like these dogs that were plotting to take over the world. It's like the dumbest. Going back and watching it now, it's probably the dumbest, possibly the worst episode of the series, and it just scared the crap out of me as a kid. But yeah, Nick and Nate being that was just the biggest deal. So we went by their old house, which really fixed up really nice. And I was telling my dad about that, he's just kind of laughing. But yeah, that was the biggest thing as a kid. Like, oh yeah, some people from our little tinky town are going to be in a big TV production that's going to be seen nationwide. And they don't live around here. I don't know. One of them moved to Colorado. I know that. And I don't know about the other one or the rest of the family. So I think one of them was also an extra, like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. He's probably like some guy standing in a crowd or something. So I'm kind of joking, like, since he was in that plus Erie, Indiana, he's the most famous person from Shell Rock, Iowa, then me, and then the other twin. I'm giving myself too much credit there, but if I don't, who will? So we did all this. We went around Waverly, went to some of the spots I remember as a kid, and it's kind of funny how they've done a lot to change the cities, but everything is still the same. Like I could, once I was in like the Waterloo area, I could drive here, even though I've never even driven here before, but riding in the car with my parents as a kid, getting here was no problem. And just driving around town. So driving into town was interesting because there's a building downtown called the Boyd Building. And when I was a kid, they had the town halls in there. And then there were like two more kinds of buildings in there. The one was the city hall / the police station. The other side was the library, of course, with my mother being the town librarian. I was well acquainted with that library. And then when we moved the library to where it is now, that side became City Hall and the other side was just the police station. Last time I was here, that was still how it was. They were moving the firehouse, I knew that, to where the Quick Trip was from when I was a kid, but there were signs up saying that they were going to do that. But I'm driving into town and I'm on the highway and I see Shell Rock City Hall off the side of the highway. I'm like, that's different from even 3 years ago. So what's in the big building downtown now? Because they don't even have police here anymore. Though they had like one police officer who was here when I was a kid, which seems like a strange place to be a police officer, but he had passed away, and I guess I figure there's not really any crime here, so why bother with it? Which, wouldn't that be nice if that's just how the world was? So, but I saw the City Hall on the highway just outside of town, and I'm like, okay, so I stopped at the Quick Trip, and I was filling my car up with gas. I'm like, the Quick Trip's like a block from where my dad lives, and I figured I might as well drive downtown and see what's in the Boyd Building now. So I drive down there, and yeah, it's just empty. It was kind of sad. And the downtown is so weird because it still looks vibrant and alive, but there's like a cafe, which was like a bar and grill when I was a kid, and across the street's another actual bar. And so you got the two restaurants. There was an ice cream shop, which was new, which was really cool, and that was it. And it's kind of sad because it looks like a really happening downtown, and there's actually a lot of people moving to the town yet, but all the businesses is in Waverly or Allison, which is the two next closest towns. It's a little like I wish I could put the word out, like people should come to Shell Rock, Iowa. It's a great place. I would love to see that downtown bustling again, like when I was a kid. Like even the bank isn't there anymore. Like the town doesn't have a bank. I should talk about these two places. So the cafe, which I'm going to have a picture of on here on the side of the building. It's always looked like that, but they've touched it up because it was all faded when I was a kid. But that's been several different bars and grills and whatever since as long as I can remember. But I always thought that was a really neat building. But across the street is a building, a bar called The Cooler. It's always been called The Cooler, but it's had different owners. That was where everybody hung up when I remember. And the funny thing is, me and my sister have never been in there. We were like the only two kids not allowed to go in there. But the cool thing about The Cooler, bad choice of words I guess, was that it was originally the jailhouse from like way back when. So they've got a jail cell in there because you know those bars going down into the foundation, they couldn't replace. So you can actually go like have a beer in this old jail cell. I always thought that was kind of neat. So yeah, so I took Thor down there, and then I stopped by the mill. I've always loved the mill here, and I guess it's a museum now, and you can also, like, they've got a couple like rooms you could rent out if you're staying in town there, and that building has fascinated me since childhood, and it's fixed up. It looks amazing. I still want to go. I've never in my life been inside there. I want to do that. Hopefully maybe next time I come, like to come back in the spring, and if I do come back in spring, well, I'm going to, but I need to plan it out better, take some time off work and bring the camera and do what I intended for this video to be then. But for now, you're just getting me rambling and some pictures. But the mill is just one of my favorite places, and so they've actually got a little park behind there now. It's actually a Veterans Memorial Park. It's really nice. It's one of the nicest Veterans Memorial Parks I've ever seen, and it's in Shell Rock, Iowa, of all things. And there's this big like wooden deck you can go kind of overlook the river. But I actually took Thor down by the actual dam down there, because that's where me and my dad used to go fishing when I was a kid. And it used to be a lot of that dam wasn't even underwater. You could go out and fish off the dam, but it had some high waters, and it's been underwater as far as now. A little bit of it was kind of exposed, and me and Thor went out on that, but it's also like he was scared. I mean, you got the water rushing. I got a video of that, but it's on my phone. I will try and transfer it over so that I can use it for this, but I can't guarantee. You can see how close we were. I don't think the photographer not wanting to get too close to it. I was a little bit nervous, but at the same time, it's a very nostalgic place for me. So I came back around to go to my parents' place, and I came back by the school. And there's this house. It's right across the street from the school, and it's on the corner. And my friend Jeremy lived there growing up. He was a pretty big dork like me. But he had a computer, and his like favorite computer game was the old Avoid the Noid. And he would just brag about Avoid the Noid, and that's why I wanted the Noid game. And of course, all we had in this Nintendo. So I got Yo Noid, which I've not played Avoid the Noid, but seeing footage of it now as an adult, I think I got the better Noid game. I think Yo Noid's just wacky and crazy enough that it really was kind of something special. Whereas Avoid the Noid, you're actually like a delivery guy just trying to deliver pizza. It does look like a cool, like old school arcade type of game though. But I think we talked about the Noid enough in the Kamen Ninja Hanamaru video. But I just remember always hanging out with him, and him was talking about the game. But it was his old house, and it's a museum now. It's like the Shell Rock Historical Society Museum. I have been for years trying to find more and more information on Shell Rock, and that was a neat thing when I was with my old babysitter, Barb. She's in there as a Facebook group, and she showed it to me, so I went to join that. It was pretty cool. Was a painting when we were in the Boyd building for the library, and it looked like downtown Shell Rock, but it almost looked like from a western. And the whole city's on fire, and it turns out there was a big fire in the early 1900s. And I've tried to find more, like you can find like scanned newspaper articles on it, on what happened, and most of downtown got burned. So there's a few pictures I've been able to find online that was like Shell Rock before the fire, but they're we're talking like 1900s, really dark, and then they've been scanned onto a computer, but there were so many pictures, and there's like Shell Rock 1910 and then 1920, and one of them was like the original town bridge made out of iron before they put the concrete one in and stuff like that. It was just incredible. I gotta join the Facebook group, but it's small towns like this, the history doesn't seem to get preserved that well. It's just great to see something like that, and that's what I'm hoping to do. But anyway, it has been fun, and it's amazing that 20 years of not being here, and it still feels like home. Like I said, they say Shell Rock's our hometown, and it is still my hometown. This feels like where I belong. Before we end the video, I did make my dad drive me out since we were in Waverly. We went by the old farmhouse. I asked about it. He goes, I don't know, not sure where it is. I says, I know where it is. I was like, and me and my sister were out here 3 years ago. Came to your wedding, we actually drove by there too. I was like, no problem finding it. So we drove out there, and I did get a picture of the farmhouse where all the stuff from my Ouija board tales video, where all that went down. So they can take a look at it. And it does not look like a farmhouse, that's the funny thing, but that is the house where it all happened. There's actually a guy outside working, so I just kind of pulled up, took out the camera, snapped a picture, and drove off. He waved at us, we waved back. Would have loved to gone talk to the guy, see if anything weird's happened there since, but yeah. So we did that, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell this story. So right up the street, so this is like, I'm facing the back of the house, so then if you went out in the street here, which you saw me filming earlier, and you went right, there's a big white old farmhouse at the end of the street. And there's a kind of a subdivision behind it now. When I was a kid, that was a field, and that was the farmhouse from the field, you know. And that field actually ran up into our backyard, like behind our house and everything, and that was like the field, because it was about the only, there's a lot of fields off to the side, but that's like the only one in town. And but I remember seeing this old lady in the farmhouse. Old lady, she was wearing like a black dress, she had like wire frame glasses, and she'd be in the window all the time. I saw her, my sister saw her, our neighbors were like, you talk to any of the kids in this town, everybody saw her. And she fit the description of the woman who had owned that house for a while, but she was long past dead. So that was always like the haunted house in the area, because everybody had seen her, but we all knew she was long since gone. So a lot of cool stuff like that in this town. That's really all it is, and I'm excited to come back. I love it here. I know I said that, and I'm going to continue to say it. It has just been unreal, because this place it's magical. This is home. Outside Shell Rock right now in a small town called Finchford. This old bridge, I don't know, all of us kids just used to call it the swinging bridge because it swings. Yeah, Thor's with my dad right now. I don't really want to bring him up here, but he's trying to get up. With my wonky balance, it's not best for him to be up here with me, though. It's kind of neat. There's this whole wooded path back here. I should bring Thor out here for one of our hiking trips in the summer sometime.
Hey Thor, wait for Dad.
There's my dad and Thor out there.
He's going nuts.
I love this spot though. Since I come back here in the summer, Thor, maybe hike this trail that's back here. This is the trails back behind the bridge. And we're going to actually go ahead and walk across this thing here. You can watch how much this bounces with just me lightly going across it. That's just here. I was up here with my sister and my niece. And that was a little nerve-wracking. But yeah, this is like always one of our favorite spots as kids. We always beg our parents, let's go to the swinging bridge. And so of course I asked to stop here today. Probably gonna get some footage of me and my dad driving around. It's gonna be like two old men reminiscing about the glory days.